The week before his wedding, Spencer returned home early to rehearse his wedding vows. When he opened the front door, he was surprised to see his dazzlingly beautiful bride, dressed in an elegant black cocktail dress with a string of pearls around her neck, sheer black stockings, and high heels. "Damn, she is so good," flashed through his mind. "You re-here early," she said shrilly, and there was a distinct note of fear in her voice. Her plan to avoid an unpleasant conversation was clearly failing. For the first second, Spencer thought he might have forgotten about some scheduled meeting. He smiled broadly, kissed Lucinda, and said, "Give me 10 minutes. I'll shave off the stubble, and I'll be ready." "Ready for what?" she asked in a trembling voice. Spencer froze, blinked incomprehensibly. "Well, with you?" "You look amazing." After a short pause, the bride barely audibly mumbled, "Honey, I'm sorry, but you misunderstood me. God, I was so dreading this conversation. I was going to leave you a note to explain." Spencer frowned as he saw the travel bag by the door. The bride noticed where his gaze fell and added quietly, "I will not be home this weekend." "I do not understand," he responded confused. "What do you mean you will not be home?" "I have to go away. I've got too many nerves preparing for the wedding, and I need to be somewhere else." "Where are you going?" "A hotel downtown." "Alone?" Lucinda sighed and paused for a long moment before answering. "I'll be with someone I know." Spencer took a deep breath. "Since you're not giving a name, it must be a man." The guilty expression on Lucinda's face became more eloquent than any words. "No, it's not like that." "Yes, just a friend," she tried to object. Spencer's voice grew louder, and he clenched his fists as if he were trying to force the situation. "You mean you're going to spend an entire weekend in a hotel room with a man a week before the wedding, and I'm supposed to believe he's just a friend?" "I have to do it," she mumbled stubbornly. "Who is this bastard you're going to sleep with?" Her voice trailed off, but Spencer was almost shouting. "No way it's just a friend." "What are you going to talk about in there?" "About us, about our relationship." "Is he a professional psychiatrist?" Lucinda, looking at the floor, remained silent. "Maybe he is a licensed psychologist?" Spencer asked again, but got no answer. "Okay, then at least a priest who helps couples before they get married?" "No, but he is a good listener," she whispered. "A good listener?" Spencer grinned wryly. "So you're willing to go away with him for a whole weekend, right, before the wedding to talk to a good listener?" Lucinda lowered her head even lower, her shoulders slumping as if she were melting. "Look at me when I'm talking to you," Spencer demanded, and waited until she looked him in the eye. She sobbed in response, black mascara sweat rolling down her cheeks. 2 hours of preparation came to an end in less than a couple minutes. Spencer, squinting his eyes, spoke in a calm but threatening tone. "I'm going to ask you one more time, and one last time. Who is this bastard? Swear you would not defend him." "I promise," Lucinda said, barely audibly. "But please do not hurt him. I told you, if I find out who he is, I'll kill him where he stands." His face froze in fury. Lucinda cowered on the floor like a puppy that had just been caught tearing up its master's favorite shoes. She whimpered quietly, drained of her strength. Spencer demanded, "Stand up and answer." There was no response, however. As if out of control, he ripped the mirror off the wall in the hallway and hurled it across the room. It hit the dining room wall with a clatter, shattering into shards. The shards spattered across the wooden floor, and Lucinda jumped to her feet in horror. "That's why I wanted to turn off the phone and leave you a note to explain myself," she said frantically, trying to find some excuse. Spencer looked at her with an expression that made her uncomfortable. "So, if I come at my usual time, you have run away by now," he said, his voice trembling. Lucinda nodded uncertainly. "So you leave a note and run off to another man all weekend while we a week before the wedding?" He set his briefcase on the table in front of him, pulled out his notebook and pen, tossed them forcefully onto the table, and sat back in his chair. "Okay, while you at it, write the damn note right now. Hopefully you have a convincing enough explanation." Lucinda sank down in the chair, took the pen with trembling fingers, and began to jot something out quickly. After a few minutes, she put the pen away and sat there, not daring to look up. Spencer did not wait. He pulled the notebook from under her hands and saw just one short line. Next week, I'm going to start a new chapter of my life, and I need to do it before it is too late. What does that mean? He exhaled, shocked and furious at the same time. Tell me the truth. Were you going to admit that you were leaving someone else? If I did more time, I would have written more about how I felt. She tried to justify herself. You did not answer my question. Did you really think that your affair would somehow strengthen our marriage? His eyes flashed. I mean, people get divorced for cheating, and we were not even married, and now. Lucinda realized that threatened the ceremony itself, which it is still considered unthreatening. She frantically searched for words to justify herself, and finally exclaimed, I could not tell you, because I knew you would react badly. The word badly seemed to press a hidden button in Spencer's mind. It was like it exploded from within. Bad? You call that bad? There is more to come, Lucinda. Consider this your last chance. I'm not marrying you in a week, or ever, unless you tell me his name right now. That is it. The wedding is off. Is that enough for you? Lucinda clutched his wrists, pleading, Spencer, I beg you, do not say that. I love you more than life, but this is what I have to do. He pushed her hand away. Say his name, he repeated coldly. Silence. You have one and only one opportunity. Say his name or get out of here. And do not ever come back. Spencer, please. Her voice trembled. I've said it all, he said sternly, pointing to the door. I love you. Lucinda cried out, bursting into tears. Spencer, clenching his teeth, looked at her with an inexpressible expression. An original way of proving it. His voice was quiet, but there was a threat ringing in it. He reached for the front door and swung it wide open. That's the last time I'll say it again. Say his name or get out of my house. Lucinda swallowed convulsively, her face pale, her hands clenched into fists. She tried to keep quiet, but the tension became unbearable, and at some point she broke down. Oliver Stevenson, she breathed out. Spencer froze. Your boss? His voice suddenly rose to a shout. That old bastard who is old enough to be your father. Lucinda cried out like a wounded animal, as if she was being pulled out of the underworld. You slept with him? Spencer asked, clenching his fists. She did not answer. Did you sleep with him? He repeated louder. Lucinda stood with her head down, looking at her feet as if the ground could give her an answer. Fucking answer me. His voice rattled through the walls of the house. She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders trembling. Even your silence speaks more than words. Spencer clenched his jaw. But I'm still waiting, Lucinda. Did you sleep with him? Her chin trembled slightly. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, she nodded. That subtle gesture hit Spencer like a baseball bat to the solar plexus. Inside, everything turned upside down. His heart raced so furiously that for a second he thought he was going to faint. The world spun before his eyes, and he grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. Lucinda froze in horror, afraid to even breathe. Taking a deep breath, Spencer squeezed himself out. If I remember correctly from the Christmas party, he is married. So what does his wife think about her husband sleeping with a blonde woman half his age? Lucinda swallowed nervously. She does not mind. She squeezed out. She is going through menopause, and they have not had sex in almost a year. Spencer squinted. Did you hear that from her? No, from Oliver. He said she was embarrassed to talk about it. Let us call her and find out, he suggested, slowly reaching out his hand. Lucinda shook her head. We see not. Oliver said it would humiliate her even more. Spencer shook his head, not believing his ears. Give me your phone. I'll take my chances. I do not have his home number, only his cell phone. So he is hiding all this from his wife? Spencer grinned coldly. No, you do not understand. He respects her feelings. He does not want her to feel inferior. Spencer abruptly grabbed his head, shaking it from side to side. I see not believe how stupid you are. You reek defending that bastard. I'm not protecting, Lucinda whispered. Then listen carefully. His voice was like a blade. You have two choices. Leave or stay and accept the fact that you are now a discarded whore. Lucinda raised her head, her eyes flashing with rage. How dare you call me that? And what do you think a bride who sleeps with a married old man should be called? He growled. Lucinda turned away, muttering something quickly under her breath. Wait, before you go, Spanzer crossed his arms over his chest. Answer me one question. She turned around without looking up. Why did you do it? Why did you decide to spend the weekend with him? Lucinda opened her mouth, but hesitated for a moment, as if searching for words. Then she exhaled, It's your fault. What? He flared up. Why would it be my fault? When things got serious between us, she began in a broken voice. You admitted that you had 3 girls before me. And you were the first man in my life. I thought to not care, but then, after talking to Oliver, it started to gnaw at me from the inside out. Spencer could not believe his ears. You decided to cheat on me because of that. He said if we wanted a strong marriage, we had to enter into it as equals. He said I should do it now before the wedding. Because you always said you'd never forgive cheating. And we're not married yet, so I just evened the score. Are you out of your mind? His voice was shaking with indignation. That was before I met you. She pleaded. From a moment you came into my life, I've always been faithful to you. No pincer only pakashal head, glyadya naher, as on madness. From the day we started dating, I've been loyal to you, Spencer said firmly. And you've decided to stake our whole future on the delusions of a horny old man who just wanted to get a girl half his age in a bed? No, that's not true. Lucinda shook her head desperately. Yes, we talked about it. He helped me realize how unfair it was to me. But he never tried to manipulate me. Spanzer grinned with obvious sarcasm. Really? And you never even considered that he might have been interested in having you even the score? No. That's not what you think. She protested. He just wanted to help us. Help. Spencer spluttered. And what was that help? He did not say anything specific, but he helped me realize things. Lucinda began confusedly. He made me realize that I had the right to sleep with 3 different men so that we could be married on equal terms. The right. Spanzer laughed hoarsely. What nonsense. Spanzer, Lucinda said pleadingly. Yes, I've had sex with another man, but I love you, and that's why I'm willing to settle for one. She smiled, as if she hoped that this confession would somehow soften the situation, as if she had done a generous favor. Spencer looked at her with a long, hard stare that read a mixture of disgust and distrust. If it would not be so miserable, I'd be miserable, he said finally. Lucinda clutched her head in despair. I do not understand. When Oliver explained everything, it sounded so logical. It should have been different. You rewrite. His voice was icy. It was supposed to be different. We were supposed to be together, true to each other, forever. Spencer looked like he was on the verge of a breakdown. How did you think I'd react when I found out you slept with your boss? No. You re-turning this around. Lucinda waved her hands desperately. Then tell me. His voice was low and strained. What did you think was going to happen when you came back after this weekend? Did you think I was going to act like an obedient cuckold and thank the old man for sleeping with my fiancée? I hope you never find out, she whispered softly. I love you. I never wanted to hurt you. It would be my little secret that I would carry with me into eternity. Spanzer looked at her like a complete idiot. So you're going to leave, turn off your phone, not tell me where you were going, and you thought I'd never find out? Lucinda sobbed, but kept talking. Even if you had found out, I knew you loved me enough to understand, and we would still be married and happy. Spencer froze. A dark, destructive rage flashed in his eyes. Understand? He repeated with pressure. Wouldn't you make me believe that I'd understand all that and still marry you after you slept with another man? Oliver said. Lucinda began, but did not have time to finish. Oliver said. Spencer roared. You believe that bastard who just took advantage of a naive girl? No, he is a caring, kind man. He just wanted our marriage to be strong. Lucinda desperately clung to her excuses. How many times had you slept with him? Or with anyone else? I swear there was no one else. She exclaimed. Then how many times? How many times did you sleep with him? Lucinda looked away, but finally whispered, Not that many, 7 or 8 times. Spanzer was petrified. 7 or 8 times? His voice trailed off. You fucked another man 7 or 8 times while you were my fiancé. And you think that is not that many? Lucinda sobbed. I did it for us, she breathed out through her tears. For our marriage. Spencer grinned, his eyes flashing with cold fury. Remember when you asked me about my past? His voice became deceptively calm. I never said I'd had 3 girls before you. I said I'd had sex 3 times. Lucinda froze, looking at him with eyes widened with horror. Before I met you, I dated a girl named Sally MacDunn, Spencer said coldly, looking straight into Lucinda's eyes. We had a serious relationship. We were even going to run away together after graduation. He was silent for a moment, remembering. But one day her mother caught us in bed. After that, her family left town the very next day, and I never heard from her again. He looked up at Lucinda, his eyes full of disappointment. And then I met you. And from that day on, I have not kissed, touched, or slept with any other woman. Lucinda felt her breath catch. Her chest constricted, everything turned upside down inside. She would vomit if she could get a word out. Spencer grinned bitterly. It turns out you've outdone me 7 or 8 times cheating versus the 3 times I had before you. Maybe I should even the score and sleep with 4 or 5 more women. No, Lucinda started to stammer, but Spencer interrupted her. By your logic, if you were allowed to have fun with someone else, then I have the same right? He crossed his arms over his chest, his voice hard and sarcastic. What do you say about your best friend, Lily? You always said you did not trust her around me. Or maybe I should try with your sister. She is not seeing anyone right now. Spencer, please no. Lucinda shook her head in panic. Give me one good reason why not. I got it all figured out. I'm ending this relationship. I'm not going anywhere with him. You have to understand. I made a mistake, but I did it for us. For us? Spencer laughed evilly. No, Lucinda. You did it for you. She knelt before him, grasping his hands. Please, Spencer, give me a chance. He pulled his hands from her grip and stepped back. It is too late. His voice sounded cold and emotionless. I'll never be able to trust you again. Please give me a chance, she sobbed. I swear I'll never again. Spencer raised his hand, silencing her. What you've done is truly evil. His voice was firm, uncompromising. There is nothing between us anymore. Everything is ruined. Lucinda fluttered her eyelashes, unable to believe what was happening. No, do not say that. I love you. I swear I'll never cheat on you again. It is not just the cheating. He took a step closer, looking her straight in the eyes. The most painful part of it is that when you had doubts, you did not come to me, to the man you claimed to love. She held her breath, feeling her world crumble with every word he said. I do not know what I would have said to you then, but I do know that I would never have advised you to sleep with a married man. Only a vile bastard would do that. There was silence. Lucinda felt invisible hands clutching her throat, robbing her of breath. It was as if she felt cold, bony fingers ripping out her heart, her dreams, her life. She felt nauseous, but even a breath of air seemed an unaffordable luxury. What do you think your mother will say when she finds out there will not be a wedding because you spread your legs for someone else? Spencer's voice was calm, but there was not an ounce of pity in it. I'll make sure everyone knows what you've done. All of our family, all of our friends will know that our wedding is off because you slept with a married man. He grabbed her left hand, roughly yanked her wedding ring off her finger. No, it's mine. You gave it to me. Lucinda shrieked, lunging toward him, trying to snatch the ring back. Spencer held her by the shoulders, shoving her backward. You betrayed us, he said softly. You trampled everything this ring symbolized. He clenched it in his fist, as if he wanted to erase the very memory of it. It's over. I'm not marrying you. Lucinda opened her mouth, but could not make a sound. Go away, before I do something I'll regret. His last words pierced her like a dagger through her heart. Her lips trembled, but her voice would not come out. Instead of out of it Hriplia, painful. Her eyes widened, her whole body shuddering with realization. There was an oppressive, icy silence in the room. Tears streamed down Spencer's cheeks, but he did not raise his hands to wipe them away. He had not felt like this since he'd lost his father. Lucinda tried desperately to find any words that might make things right, but her mind was blank. For the first time, she realized that she had been deceived. She was being used. The silence in the room was interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. Lucinda flinched, waking from her stupor, and immediately said, turning pale, "God, it's Oliver. I'll tell him to leave. Please do not make a scene." But Spanzer was not listening. He reached for the baseball bat that was always by the door. "Do not worry," he hissed. "I will not make a scene. I'll just kill him right here in the hallway in front of you." Lucinda jumped up from her seat, trying to block his way. "Spanse, no. He is not worth you going to jail for." "I do not care," he said indifferently, stepping around her. "I have no reason to live any longer. But if I can get my revenge, at least I'll take the man who ruined my life with me to hell." Her fingers frantically darted to the phone. She tried to dial Oliver's number, but the call went straight to voicemail. Spanzer, bat in hand, rushed to the door, ready to knock the bastard to the ground with a single blow. But it was not Oliver standing at the door. Two policemen were standing in front of him. The bat slipped from his fingers and fell to the tile floor with a loud clang. The officers did not even look in his direction. Instead, one of them turned to Lucinda. "Excuse me, ma'am. Are you Lucinda Bradley?" "Yes. What's the matter, officer?" The policeman entered the house, closing the door quietly behind him. "Do you know Mrs. Isabella Stevenson? I work with her husband, Oliver." Lucinda answered confusedly, clenching her trembling fingers into a lock. The officers looked at each other, as if they knew something she had not realized yet. "Is everything all right?" Lucinda asked cautiously, feeling her heart racing in her chest. Had something happened to Isabella? "No, ma'am," one of the policemen answered dryly. "But about an hour ago, Mrs. Stevenson shot her husband in their house." Lucinda gasped, her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor with her arms around her head. Spanzer silently turned around and went into the kitchen. He returned a moment later with a large pot filled with ice water, and without further ado, he splashed it on his ex-fiancée's face. Her impeccably styled hair was instantly wet, sticking to her cheeks like a drenched stray dog. It was only a few minutes later that she was able to speak. "Oh my God, Oliver's dead." Her voice sounded like a strangled croak. "Yes, ma'am," the officer nodded. "She shot him 6 times in the chest with a .38 caliber revolver. Then she reloaded and fired 6 more bullets into his face. Detectives say it was the most cold-blooded murder they've ever seen. She literally blew his head off." There was an oppressive silence in the room. The only sound that came out after those words was laughter. Spanzer laughed, dryly, loudly, madly. The officers looked at him in bewilderment, watching him shake with hysterical laughter. "So she did not let her husband go away with you for the weekend after all?" he exhaled, wiping away tears. One of the policemen, ignoring his laughter, stepped toward Lucinda and continued. "You need to come with us, ma'am. Mrs. Stevenson has told the neighbors that she is going to kill you for ruining her marriage. There are 6 police crews patrolling the neighborhood at the moment, but for your safety, you'd better come with us to the station." Lucinda sat pale as chalk, her lips trembling, but she could not find the words. Spanzer, resting his shoulder against the door jamb, exhaled slowly and threw in a soft but distinctive voice, "Do not come back, traitor." His voice was drowned out by Lucinda's desperate scream. The policeman picked her up and dragged her toward the exit, putting her into a patrol car. Spanzer watched in silence as the blue lights of the siren dissolved into the distance, disappearing around the corner. He tried to realize how in an instant his life had become a shambles. He walked to the living room without turning on the lights, poured himself 3 strong sips of whiskey, letting the alcohol burn his throat. The 4th sip awakened his inspiration. His hand reached for his laptop. He opened the email and began typing. Spanzer opened the laptop. His fingers froze over the keyboard, but after a second he started typing furiously. He was going to send the letter to everyone whose addresses he had: family, friends, co-workers, church choir members. Everyone. He gave the letter the title, "Why I Would Not Marry Lucinda Bradley, Cheater," and In the first paragraph, he warned recipients, "If you turn on the news today, you see the top story of the day. A middle-aged woman shot and killed her husband for cheating with a 25-year-old girl. I'm ashamed to admit it, but that wench was my ex-fiancée." Spanzer typed quickly, not holding back, spewing all the anger outward. Yes, this same MS. I'm so right. Lucinda, who always condemned her girlfriends for promiscuous affairs, is now responsible for the death of a 60-year-old man. She was sleeping with a guy older than her father. Now you know why there will be no wedding. And thank God it happened before I ruined my life by marrying a cheater. At the end of the letter, he added a postscript. The police are now hiding Lucinda because her lover's widow wants to kill her. I sincerely hope she succeeds. As soon as he hit the send button, his inbox immediately filled with notifications. The first 6 replies came almost instantly. Then the phone rang. On the other end of the line was a reporter from the local newspaper. He asked for comment for an article. Without a second thought, Spanzer sent him a couple of photos of Lucinda in a revealing bathing suit that he had once kept as a keepsake. He then briefly recounted the story of her betrayal. Shortly thereafter, he received an offer to appear live on a radio station. He accepted. He spent the next 2 hours talking to reporters and answering a barrage of emails. Most people were supportive. Even Lucinda's friends and family took the time to defend her. Finally, when Spanzer got tired of retelling the same story, he closed his laptop, got up, and started packing her things. He raked up everything that reminded him of her, stuffing it into black trash bags. 4 full bags went into the garage, next to the dumpsters. His quiet suburb had not had a murder in 5 years, but now the newspapers were full of headlines. The next morning, the front pages of the local paper screamed, "Love triangle ended in death." Journalists crowded the streets, television reporters filmed stories, handing out interviews. News broadcasts showed the fugitive Lucinda, her lover, and his widow seeking revenge. The city, which had fallen asleep in silence, awoke to the flashes of cameras. As darkness fell, Spanzer finished the rest of his bourbon, letting the alcohol fill the emptiness inside. The next morning, when the camera crews arrived, they filmed a locksmith changing the locks on his house. As a final touch, he put a sign on the door that said, "Private property, no trespassing." 2 hours later, police picked up Isabella Stevenson. She was asleep in her car, just a couple blocks from Lucinda's apartment. The arrest went quietly. Spanzer, suffering from a hangover, raised his head irritably when persistent knocking began at the door of his house. "Get out," he shouted. "Open up, police," came the reply. He opened the door. 2 officers stood on the doorstep. "Mr. Garman, your fiancée wants to come home and explain herself." Spanzer crossed his arms over his chest and looked at them coldly. "I do not have a fiancée, and this is not her home. This is my home. She will never cross this threshold again." He stepped over the threshold, pointed to the bags of her belongings by the garage. "Here are her belongings. Take them and tell her I'll never forgive her. Never. And I'll never speak to her again." There was a desperate cry from the car. "Spencer, I love you." But he had already closed the door, cutting her out of his life once and for all. He went into the living room, turned on the television, switched to the classic movie channel, and leaned back in his chair, watching the slow-motion action of an old black and white Western. No one had ever admitted who had sent the photos that had led Stevenson's wife to discover the affair, but the whole office agreed that Oliver's secretary had come to work the day after the murder with a particularly smug smile. Lucinda had become a pariah. She was fired before she even stepped foot in the office. When the owner of the company passed away, and his widow's expensive lawyers could not prove her temporary insanity in court, the business was sold to a Chinese investor. The new owner closed the branch, laying off all employees, and moved production to a tiny island in the Pacific. Lucinda lost everything. Her friends turned their backs on her. Her family no longer tried to exonerate her. After she testified in court, she packed up her belongings, stuffed them in her trunk, and drove away. As she left town, her gaze involuntarily stopped at the house where she and Spanzer had once built their future. Now there was a for sale sign on the front lawn. Tears covered her eyes. She tried to keep driving, but the road in front of her blurred into a haze of pain and regret. Lucinda stopped the car, closed her eyes, and breathed deeply, trying to hold on to reality. She tried to remember what it felt like to have Spanzer's arms around her. She wanted to die. 6 years passed. Spanzer returned to his hometown for the first time since that ill-fated night. The occasion for his return was a sad one. The funeral of his childhood friend who had died a hero in the war. The Alumni Association had invited all former classmates to the ceremony, and a large gathering was expected. So he could not help but come. His wife, beautiful and gentle Betty, as he called her, held his hand as they walked leisurely through the town's South Main Square. She knew that every step through these streets brought back painful memories in his mind, and she squeezed his hand tighter, letting him know that he was not alone. But their 3-year-old son, the restless and curious Spanzer Jr., did not want to wait for his slow parents and rushed ahead, exploring the neighborhood. When his mom and dad stopped at the window of an antique store, the boy, without looking, crashed into a woman coming out of the door. She took a few steps back in surprise, her bag falling out of her hands, scattering a few things on the sidewalk, including a condolence card. "Spencer Robert Garman, stop running at once," the mother sternly called out. As soon as the woman heard that name, a chill ran down her back. Betty stepped closer and smiled. "We spent 6 hours in the car, so he has got too much energy stored up." Spanzer Jr. raised his head and looked guiltily at the stranger. "I'm sorry, lady. I did not mean to upset you. Are you all right?" The woman forced out a weak smile. "I'm fine. You re a very polite boy. Your parents can be proud of you." Spanzer Sr. knelt down, picking up the scattered things. When he looked up, their gazes met. They just stared at each other, unable to look away. Spanzer Jr. picked up a fallen pen from the ground and silently held it out to the woman. At that moment, Betty noticed that her husband had tears glistening in his eyes. As soon as Betty saw the look on her husband's face, she realized everything. The woman with whom he had been staring at each other in silence for so long was not just a random passerby. Betty knew who was in front of her. Like a lioness in defense of her pride, she stepped forward, blocking the path between the ghost of the past and the man she loved. Her eyes glittered with cold steel, her voice quiet but full of menace. "Do not you dare even come near my family." She stared directly at Lucinda, waiting for a response, but Lucinda just swallowed, lowered her gaze, and took a step back. As Lucinda turned, preparing to disappear into the crowd, she heard the last thing Betty threw her way. Never means never. And that's where today's story ends. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like and comment. We'd love to discuss this story with you. See you in the next video.